WILDCARD and the Knights, we're very, very split here, Mandy. It's quite hard to, I think more so split on the stage results rather than maybe tonight's results. It feels like WILDCARD with a bit of a backing here could well and truly go on to, almost secure a major opportunity within the very first 3 play days. But when we look at this matchup in particular, WILDCARD, is there a reason why you're so trusting, or why maybe we're so trusting in their performance at the moment?
I think the reason why we're trusting their performance is that they've been very consistent. Their formula always seems to work every playday, whereas on the flip side of the Knights, I can't really say the same, and to me, I think that's really the only thing that's divided our predictions so far right now. WILDCARD, they look strong, they look like they're back in form, and the last time we interviewed Vinny, he was very, very insistent that the progression was not going to stop. This is not enough for WILDCARD, and the hunger is just ever growing for them.
There's always been almost an essence to this roster, Dev, of they can do anything, but also they can let things slip. We saw multiple times in stage 1 where they had leads and they weren't able to close them out. Would it be fair to say that that is almost gone from their vocabulary? Do you think that the throw might be out, or is there still that little part in the back of your mind that worries us?
There is definitely a part in the back of my mind that has me concerned for WILDCARD in stage 1. They only won 2 games, and they need to get a lot better than, technically they won 3 games, I guess, I'm pretty sure. But they need to really develop that consistency. Like, they've shown how strong they can be, but to be honest, we saw flashes of greatness in stage 1. We need to see that consistency, and it needs to be proved with time.
And a roster that has been proving their own with the time that they've had. The Knights, I mean, Quiz and Stiggs coming onto this behemoth of OS, Mandy, it seems to have done wonders, but maybe not so much for the storyline of this stage. I mean, it definitely has by no means been awful. I think maybe I'm writing that off. It's just the fact that they're sitting 7th at the moment. They're technically only 2 points away from 2nd place and only 4 points away from 1st. I'm not going to say can they turn it around, but do you think that this is the opportunity, like Dev was saying, to almost set the standard for the rest of the stage?
I think it absolutely is. I think against a team like WILDCARD, this is like a tale as old as time, right? This particular rivalry, this is 2 teams that know each other very well. They know how they play. And so I think that if the Knights were able to come in, they were able to show that the method works against WILDCARD, that the way that they play works against a team like this, that's a big step up for them. And I think especially with Stiggs and Quiz coming into the roster, this is probably the best test of the way that they can fit into the team, and whether the way that I suppose they've molded their playstyle actually works in APAC South.
Dev, it's time to have a look at these vetoes, figure out where we're going. Of course, only a best of 1. It's not all that flashy. Theme Park is out, which saw 2 different games last week. Bank as well, which has seen 50% of the play. But we head to Border. Oh, I'm so uncertain about where Border's at in the APAC South meta right now. I do not feel confident going to this map at all.
Yeah, what's actually really interesting is that WILDCARD haven't banned Border in APAC South as of yet. You know, they've left it for the opposing team to ban every single time, and that actually goes for OCN as well. So we don't have a lot of info on WILDCARD's Border. They've only played it once, which funnily enough was against Knights in the OCS, and they did beat them 8-6. So that was a national tournament. I guess WILDCARD did also lose it in stage 1 to Direwolves, but that's been quite a while since that event. And I think if you just look at recency, this is definitely a map that is going to favor WILDCARD. Like, Knights played this in OCN just 2 weeks ago, and they lost it 7-1 to Team Bliss. So this is, if anything, a little bit surprising from me, and I really hope that Knights are prepared to go to Border.
Mandy, is there any issues here with this pickup? Dev's kind of at least set the tone for what we're to expect. Do you have an idea as to who might take this one?
I think this is pretty tough so far. I think throughout the first 2 stages, Border has proven to be very difficult to defend. And seeming that WILDCARD were the last to ban it, it probably meant that Knights were the ones choosing the attacking half onto going into Border. So I would hope that the Knights are able to come away with a strong first half and try and carry that momentum through to the rest of the game if they want a chance at winning against WILDCARD. But right now, WILDCARD, they look like they're in strong form. They've played it, they've beat Knights on it recently. And if they can repeat that performance again, I think WILDCARD will walk away with it.
Dev, this is set in stone. It feels almost, I don't know, maybe I'm jumping the gun here, but it does feel like WILDCARD have really from all of their trials and tribulations throughout 2021, remembering they did have to fight through the qualifiers to get back into APAC South. Are they now starting to peak? Is this an opportunity to almost definitely say they are the top 14 that we've hoped them to be for APAC South?
Well, look, WILDCARD have everything before them right now, and I'm really looking at Knights. Like you said, Mandy, Knights need to come out strong on the first half, and what's concerning for me is that they did that against Elevate on Theme Park last week, and yet they still lost the game. They went 3-3 on the defense half, which is arguably not enough, but they made it look close, right? And then as soon as they switched onto their attack, they were lost. And so Knights have me really worried here. And I think WILDCARD are the team that's probably going to take this game. And look, if we're going to be wrong about that, I am so ready for it. And I think that Knights, if you can deliver and break our expectations, then that'd be a really exciting game.
Now, Mandy, we're still waiting on one more player, so we're going to take a little bit of time here just to give them the fullest extent. I don't know whether it would be a night of APAC South if we didn't have to buy a little bit of time for the players. I'm always going to throw them under the bus a little bit here. But looking at this matchup, you know, we are pretty confident that this one may well swing into WILDCARD's favour. As you said, there's a lot of permutations around the Knights right now in terms of how they actually pull a result out of this one. But with the league being so tight, do you see Knights potentially pushing for the major spot? Do you think that they have it in them as a roster coming into Stage 2, knowing how competitive it is?
Well, I think that the Knights, they really want to improve. Last time we interviewed Stiggs, he said that this is the best squad he's ever worked with. This is the best team that he's ever been with, both personality-wise and both strategy-wise. And I think the Knights each week, they bring us a new idea, a new play style, or something quite innovative. And sometimes it works, and sometimes they kind of drop the ball on it. I think we saw that last week when Knights were trying to play their second half and it didn't quite work for them. So I think this week, if they can find the win on it, if they sort of, if WILDCARD are a bit struck by the way that Knights are playing, they could walk away with it. And I think it's going to work throughout the rest of APAC South as well. If they keep sort of striking and surprising teams with the way that they play and their ideas, then maybe they could walk away with this major spot.
Dev, Knights have always been that heavy hitter that we've kind of hoped them to be for APAC South, but we're still yet to have that glory of seeing them go to an international opportunity. Obviously, they missed out last year due to visa issues of all things. But there is a sense for me that, you know, like with the way that all of APAC is kind of, well, I'll just keep it to APAC South, but the way that things are kind of panning out right now and the way that that landscape is, it does feel like there's no definitive best team. Like, could we see the Knights rise to that? Could we see WILDCARD come out of the woodworks for 22?
Definitely out of the two teams in this game, the one that's looking much more likely to take that mantle of best in APAC South is WILDCARD. You know, they are the only undefeated team in APAC South right now. They haven't even dropped a single point in their 2 games, including beating the best team in the league from Stage 1, Direwolves. At the moment, I'm really looking at WILDCARD and Elevate. I mean, I don't know, maybe I'm a bit biased towards Elevate. I've seen them grinding for a really long time, and I think that they are the team to beat in APAC South, and I think will really test WILDCARD when they beat Elevate, if they can beat Elevate. But, of course, on top of beating the big teams, you also have to be consistent against some of the teams that maybe you should expect to win. And, you know, I would say that the Knights for WILDCARD is a team that WILDCARD should expect to win, especially when we end up on a map like Border, which historically has been really poor for Knights. If you even want to stretch back further, look at Stage 1, where they got destroyed by Elevate 7-2 on this map. You look more recently, and they haven't had any success on it, whereas WILDCARD, like, they don't ban this map. They're prepared for it. Knights better have been prepared. And to be honest, I think Knights should have been prepared. They would have seen that WILDCARD don't ban this. So if Knights are not good on Border in this game, there's only one person to blame, and that is Knights. Like, they should know that they would be going to this map, and they should have prepped for it.
Well, I can tell you one thing. There's only one person to blame for us not being in the game yet. It is Vinny. I'm going to throw him under the bus. Unfortunately, he has disconnected. So please sit back, relax. We're going to go to a short break. But on the other side is the first game of Playday 3. It's WILDCARD taking on the Knights.
sailing style. I got to know, what do I feel inside? I lose control, can't keep you off my mind. I gotta know, what did you do to me? Oh, I think it's time, I need to take a chance to cross the line, so I can understand. I gotta know, what did you do to me? Oh, oh, 'cause you gave me something I never knew before, and it feels ecstatic. Give me more, give me more. When you call my name and we're all alone, when you hold me close, it's those silly little moments come and go, and they stay with me, they make me feel like I'm alive.
Wildcard and Knights will be our match to kick-start day 3 of APAC South. Short little delay, but we're getting underway for what is going to be an extraordinary night, guys. We've got 4 matches with so many different storylines, so much on the line. It's only day 3, but every single match has so much meaning.
Yeah, every match absolutely massive, and a classic OS rivalry to kick things off. A rematch on border as well for these two. So huge storylines and big implications as well. Wildcard, of course, wanting to retain first place, and the Knights trying to play catch up.
It's a map that has, well, a lot of context surrounding it, especially with the Knights. We head to Border for our first game of the day for Playday 3. Wildcard, so far, undefeated here for Stage 2 of APAC South. They go up against their rivals, the Knights from the Oceanic region, who are looking to find their first 3-pointer for the stage. So far, only an OT win against IG is where their points have come from. And a loss tonight, guys, could see them staying down the bottom of the standings for the foreseeable future.
Thatcher off the board first in the ban phase, expecting aggressive playstyle here on border. Thatcher just limiting that a little bit for the attack, and expect something similar to be followed up here. In fact, Habana. So border is a match that does tend to have a lot of hatches, and those X-Kairos can get to work. So don't mind that from the Knights, and they'll look to follow that up quickly on the defense. Onto Amira, who, quick note, is now available to play in the competitive circuit. She was previously banned, I believe, for the last Playday due to a bug, but that has been rectified. Azami taken off the board once more by Wildcard ban. They've dabbled in a little bit, a very powerful operator, especially on border where your play area is particularly limited, and you can expand that a little bit with those keeper barriers. So Wildcard backing themselves in here. They're starting on the defense.
Yeah, and Azami very quickly becoming one of the sort of most banned operators very quickly since they've come into the competitive pool. So Knights will be on the attack, Wildcard on the defense. And we go to sort of history time here quickly, guys. The first time we saw Knights on border since, of course, the map came back into the map pool was against Elevate, of course, back in Stage 1, I believe it was. And so that was an utterly demolishing 7-2 loss. They looked absolutely lost. They had no idea what was going on, and we kind of questioned why did they go to border, etc. And the Knights basically just sort of chalked it up to learnings, lessons, etc., and really kind of getting their feet wet on the map itself. Since then, they've lost it twice. They lost it to Wildcard in the OCS, as mentioned on the desk, and they lost to Team Bliss in the local Oceanic Nationals 7-1. And that was only a week ago or so, guys, right? So this is where the Knights now need to prove to us that they've got something in the back pocket, that they have actually been working on this map, that they're ready to go, because this is the kind of game where you bring it out. With the playoff implications, of course, being completely gone, and the best of ones now mattering more than ever. And if you want to get to that major, and you want to make top 2, Knights need to win this game. It's as pretty simple as that. If they lose this, their road to top 2 is pretty much unviable.
And just to reaffirm the context of this match, the graphic up the top might be a little bit deceiving. The Knights are 7th heading into this Playday, but they still have got 2 points. They're trailing Wildcard by 4, and Elevate are only 2 points ahead in that second position. So they are close behind, but they do need to start mounting wins, preferably in regulation, get the 3 points here, and get themselves in the mix, particularly for that top 4 scrap, which is going to go right down to the wire. But all eyes now on the first round. Wildcard electing to go over towards Tellers and Bathroom for the first defensive effort, and a pretty extensive roam up above in particular. The Valkyrie is in play to facilitate this, and there's going to be a lot of information available here to Wildcard that the Knights will need to deal with.
I do want to touch on Styx. Had a very, very big performance in the Oceanic Nationals last week. I think he dropped 19 kills in that particular match. Definitely feeling hot and obviously switched on, and you just wonder if those kind of performances are able to carry over into the next week and into the next couple of games. If so, you know, Styx on the Nook, if he's able to find entry picks, really get Knights a couple of early frags, could really set the tone early on, especially in the offense here of Border. Quiz ends up flashing himself, but it might work out. It did take a little bit of damage, get some information, goes back outside of officers, and well, in the end, not a whole lot lost, but we get down to 90 seconds remaining in the round, and so far Knights have not really been able to find entry.
Pat able to replace that position on the office hatch. You can see all these blue outliners looking to establish crossfires on these positions. Pat tries to get behind that deployable shield in Fountain, but can't make the run. Josh as well cuts down Cairo. Bit of a slow build up here for the Knights, but they're converting it now, and with 70 seconds on the clock, Wildcard need to force a play.
And Milo pushes up main stairs, has a bit of information. Good ping, should hit that shot. Does he get traded back? No, able to survive. So gets the free kill onto Sage. 60 seconds remaining in the round. OJ, check your right-hand side. It Stegs up close on the Nook. He finds that kill. Can get away? Yes, he does. No trade. And now Knights have the two-player advantage for the remainder of the round. Stiggs finds two early on, and that's not a good sign for Vincia on the treadmill. Everyone knows, of course, hence the delays coming into this game. He had an issue, and it seems that issue might persist. And if so, Guz, it's not good news for Wildcard.
That is incredibly disappointing. Not to take away from the Knights, I think we should highlight the fact that they built up into that round in the execution. Super clean. Vinny DCing there at the end had no implication on the round. The Knights already had site control. OJ got taken off, and it was basically just excluding him from the site from that point onwards. So well done by the Knights. They can pat themselves on the back for the first round. A good, solid attacking effort. Wildcard looking to be aggressive and proactive doesn't pay off. And now, unfortunately, with Vinny disconnecting, hopefully he'll be able to get himself back into the server.
Yeah, and that's all you could really hope for at this point. We'll kind of leave the logistics behind the scene and see how things go, but I do want to sort of focus in on that first round. Thought the Knights played it really, really well, and it's actually one thing I want to sort of touch on is their performance last week against Elevate, Guz, where they actually played very well. First half on Theme Park, I believe, was 3-3, and then things kind of switched in the second half, and yeah, Elevate really just put the pressure on the defense, and it was the Knights that was sort of unable to actually find an avenue on the attacking side. So to see them come in, right, and for sort of the comparison, this first round, nice, relatively slow approach, but calm, collected, finds a pick, doesn't get traded back, and then using that to their advantage to get the next one. I just thought that was a lot more clean from the Knights compared to, say, last week, where their offense was quite stagnant. They weren't able to get picks, and when they did, they were traded back pretty quickly by Elevate. So that was a really, really good start for the Knights on a map where they've had no success. They still have not won on Border thus far since it came back into the map pool. Played that well, and of course, yes, we've got the Vincia issue, but besides that, good start for the Knights, and obviously this is a game they need to win. We've talked about the implications. They're only on 2 points through 2 matches. You lose this, 2 points from 3 matches, you know, 2 losses essentially already this early on. I think at that point, to put it into perspective, they would have to literally win every other game probably and get all 3 points for Playday 4, 5, 6, and 7. So that's how hard a road it would be if they don't find victory here, which, who knows, it's a good start. They might be able to.
The downside really for the Knights in this point in time, and it's not really anyone's fault, of course, is Border attacks, you can really start to gain meaningful momentum and use it across a multitude of objectives, regardless of which one you are trying to hit. And now with this pause, they need to just ensure that they are staying focused and don't get distracted by any external factors. There's nothing they can do to change the situation, so it's important that they, again, just maintain that focus. The first attack was really quite clean, actually, and if they can just continue that across a couple of the other objectives, they're going to find themselves in a really good position at the half to then try and hold on defense, which should, in theory, be a lot more difficult.
Yeah, and even more referencing the last time they played Border back in Stage 1 against Elevate, they didn't even get an attacking round win. They literally got 0. They only had the 2 defensive round wins, and it was Elevate's attack that was clean and flawless and strong, and we're probably at that point in time sitting back thinking, oh, is this going to be an attacker-sided game? And then lo and behold, no. Elevate's defense was also top-notch on Border, and they won 7-2. So again, you know, to see Knights straight away, a very solid, opening round, getting these picks early on. I love the Nook for Stiggs as well, who's obviously playing very well. You know, over the last couple of weeks, I think Stiggs is really starting to find his position within this team and leading from the front. Obviously a player with so much experience and knowledge, and his ability to, I think, bring this to the Knights at a point, you know, where admittedly at the end of Stage 3 and even, of course, Stage 1, things haven't been the best for the Knights. This is their chance to sort of rebound, and I think Stiggs is a good player to sort of lead that rebound for them. And look, again, it's been a kind of slow start to this particular stage. You know, obviously they didn't find success early on. They've only got the 2 points, but it's a team with so much firepower, with so much experience. You know they're going to bounce back. Regardless of wildcard start, this was always going to be closer to a 50-50 kind of game than I think the talent predictions actually led on to be.
Yeah, again, I feel like we've probably mentioned that countless times here in APAC South on the prediction graphic, right? We don't weight it. It's binary, right? You either pick one team or you pick the other. In terms of weighting, I probably would have gone along the lines of 70% wildcard, 30% Knights, just because of the historical data that we have, the form that wildcard's in, and just concerns around the Knights not maybe being as consistent as they would have liked. And honestly, that weighting on first glance would have shifted even more heavily towards wildcard. Very surprised that we are seeing Border played here. Clearly, the Knights must have practiced this map and have something pre-prepared. There's no other logical reason to go to the map, because you look at the head-to-head, it's weak. You look at the historical data and the other Border matches that the Knights have played, also weak. And on the flip side, Wildcard are a good Border team. And the alternative was Villa, keep that in mind. Both these teams are very competent on Villa, and perhaps maybe the Knights expected Wildcard to not ban that out, but obviously we don't have that insight. That's just all, I guess, at this point, as we have a look at Wildcard. Again, hoping that we get a reconnection shortly. You are just joining, round 1 has passed the Knights with the lead on Border.
And the wonderful Dev Marta, of course, in the backroom green room is trying to provide some statistics for us. And mentioning the fact that in sort of the top 5 for all of the statistical categories, no one from the Knights there, but you look at someone like Vincia, who's really leading the way, not just for Wildcard, but really the entire league at the moment, a 1.29 rating, incredible KD. And so I've like, okay, let's figure out where actually is the top Knights play. And it is Stiggs at 1.13. The next best rated is 0.9 Juicy. So that's a rather significant gap between Stiggs and the next best rated Knights player so far for APAC South. Again, that's only 2 matches played, but still something to keep in mind. Plus 5 KD for Stiggs. And yeah, obviously when you look at some of the wildcard stats, they're all above 1.0 at the moment as a team collectively. As we get back into the game, and Vincia as well joins us. Second round coming to you live. It's the Knights that are up 1-0.
Aggressive setup here from Wildcard on the defense, extending out all the way towards 90, a deployable shield facing top east. Some ADS devices to try and cover that. Even utility outside with OJ placing that barbed wire. So Wildcard really putting an emphasis on denying map entry, not even map control. That normally is the mantra on a Border defense. It's not necessarily about giving up any sort of control at all. You want to maintain the entire building, obviously where possible and realistic, and ensure that you are in tradable positions, because more often than not, if you are playing these aggressive extensions, you are going to die. It's a matter of fact, or a matter of time, really, when you are going to fall. It's ensuring that you have the players in the right positions to find that back and find yourself in a favorable position. That goes both ways, obviously, for the attack and the defense.
The other aspect to it as well, and you know, don't want to obviously harp on the issue that's been plaguing Vincia, but it's a mental issue. It's part of the game. These things do happen, and so you've got to keep that cool head, and you can't be moping around and being like, oh, you know, the issues that's, you know, happening, etc. You just got to get on with the game, and that's what Vincia has to do. That's what Wildcard have to do, and they're going to have a challenge as well ahead of them, which is really what you want when you look at Wildcard over the last couple of months. Obviously, it has not been good for them. They haven't been a team making top 4. They haven't been a team contending at the top of the stage and you know, contending for majors and making playoffs and such. But for this particular stage, 2 wins from 2 games. Now you've got a Knights team that's, you know, feeling like they have to win. So this is the best challenge I think Wildcard's going to have so far here for Playday 3. They're down early, only 1 round, 90 seconds remaining in the round. No real engagement yet, but Sage loses a little bit of life. Now Kyra as well over to security, finds the kill onto Sage. He got the early damage, converts, checks outside, no one else. Good information there for Wildcard.
This is the point in the round where the Knights last time out were able to find these kills, get map control. Josh with a delayed trade, but good work from him. Cairo running around the map, causing a little bit of chaos. 2 members from Wildcard down below, Milo and Pat Pat has impacts, but no Nitro, of course, on Milo, so I don't know what they'll be able to do from that position. But Vinny from his, he is back in the server, traded out by the F2, though.
He's having an incredible stage so far. Stiggs, though, as well, is just about having an even kind of season. Gets the kill onto Pat, now makes it an even 2 versus 2. Has help with Josh as well on the Finker. And then Milo and OJ, the two left remaining now for Wildcard. 40 seconds remaining in the round. And tell you what, guys, Stiggs has been feeling it in the last couple of weeks. This is a good opportunity here in Playday 3 to further stamp himself on this APAC South competition.
Creeping now over towards office, 30 seconds on the clock. Limited denial from Wildcard. May have information though. BPC's still up and Milo probing on the metal stairs. I don't think the Knights know where he is.
He swings, he pushes the spray, does get a little collect onto Josh, does not get the down. Falls back to bottom of main stairs, heading into red time. OJ still up, Milo now down below, so they're split, unable to play off of each other. But that's something that Josh and Stiggs might be able to do. Josh now, for the time being, will play that Guardian position. He's just going to watch the shoulder of Stiggs when he gets that plant down and does so successfully. Finds the kill as well onto OJ, but he does lose Stiggs. Josh has to get the trade, doesn't find it immediately over towards the beepers and top main. 37 seconds though for Milo to make a hero play, and he does with the pistol through the hole in the wall. Molluska with a big round win for Wildcard.
No way Milo able to win out that round. Awkward engagement after awkward engagement on the main stairs, but he still made it work. Almost denied the plant, but not in time, but still collected the 2K in the post. Really well played. A little bit sloppy there from the Knights. They were able to get themselves in towards the side, which was super well done. But unfortunately, it just slipped out of their grasp, and that's a response that Wildcard needed.
And there was in that replay there, the response, you know, Wildcard were up 4-2 in that round. Stiggs gets a double kill to bring it back to 2 versus 2, but Milo in the end clutches up big, and it kind of felt like an arm wrestle within the round itself, right? A good start for Wildcard. Knights brought it back, and the Knights get the plant down, but then it's Milo with the, you know, sort of clutch play at the end, plus the defuse. So both teams able to find a mini success throughout that round. It was just a matter of who could convert the round win. In this case, Milo with a big play at the right time gets the round win for Wildcard, and it is 1-1 to start here on Border. And you just feel like this could be one for the classical matches, guys, early on. I know I don't want to go too early, but you got two teams that have that sort of oceanic rivalry. Both teams want to be at the top. One of them currently is, the other down the bottom, and that's Knights.
That last round, really a tale of two halves. That clutch is going to be a huge confidence booster for Wildcard, and Milo specifically, who made a couple of small mistakes there, or didn't quite play it as perfectly as he could have, but still obviously played it incredibly well. And then you have Josh on the flip side, Finker LMG, he missed the cross when Milo was able to get back up the stairs, and then unable to find that pick due to the barbed wire, causing some issues there in the post. So he'll have to pick himself back up, and the Knights as a collective now just need to refocus, reset. There has been that earlier pause, which maybe just disrupted any momentum that they gathered in the first round, but they can look to reinitiate that. We go back over towards Tellers, so Wildcard wanting to reattempt this objective straight away, probably feeling some confidence after that last round.
I don't think both teams should be feeling confident, though. I know it feels like a little bit of time ago that we saw that opening round for the Knights. Of course, we had that technical issue that did cause a bit of delay, but you know, it's early days. But I think both teams have been able to show their strengths here on Border, both on the offensive of the Knights from that opening round, pretty clean, precise round win, and then Wildcard's ability to just sort of get into that, you know, dogfight really, and then just scrap and try and find some kills. Cairo, of course, was impactful early, getting that entry kill. Oh, Cairo again. This is a player that has so much potential, such a talented player, and really since he has joined this Wildcard roster, you've seen the rejuvenation single-handedly from him, and then of course sort of some of the older heads also refinding form at the right time, and that's why now coming into stage 2 you're just seeing it all click together for Wildcard.
Border really is a map that should suit Cairo. It's one where if you're feeling yourself, you can run around, roam confidently, try and find a pick or two, waste as much time as possible. We did see that in the last round. Cairo eventually traded out, of course, but he did his job in wasting a lot of time and some of the resources of that Knight's attack. And Valk, of course, add on top of that, incredibly useful utility. Find information. You can be as aggressive with it as you want. Can't place them out. Well, you can place them outside, but nowhere near as useful as they once were. But still on these roams, on these extensions, feed players that are now on the roam. You can see Vinny sitting the cameras currently So he's making sure that these players are covered and know where they're getting pushed from. And Cairo at the moment just holding these stairs, so disciplined. Still has that Nitro in hand as well for later on in the round.
Yeah, and Knights as a team as well very much mix up their attacking play. At times they'll go very slow, patient, methodical, and then other rounds they just really send it in. A lot of blitz attacks as well. Sometimes they even bring out the blitz itself and go for those kind of rush rounds. So not always a predictable team when it does come to their offense. And obviously Cairo, top of his stairs, is probably feeling a bit of pressure because right now for WILDCARD, there's not a whole lot of information. Are they going to push? Are they not going to push? Minute 15, are they going to now make that push in? Now, Cairo threw out the Nitro cell, but it missed. He gets the headshot onto Juicy, though, anyway, while dazed as well. And suddenly WILDCARD again up 4-2. But again, Knights still have Josh and Stiggs, never mind. Cast a curse. Milo finds the head of Josh instantaneously. And Stiggs, for as great as he has been to start this stage, he's not winning the 1v4 and he's not beating Vincere. WILDCARD make it back-to-back round wins.
I think the methodology is that, yeah, methodology here from the Knights, their approach towards some of these rounds and some of the difficulties that they're facing is actually not too bad. They isolated one player in Cairo on those stairs, but it took them a really long time to confirm it with drones. It took them a really long time to start aligning the dots and go, maybe we can see Fearstun try and push. There was limited utility really sent on that position, and Cairo relatively comfortably, yes, it was a nice shot, was able to just crouch back up, pop his head over the little half wall there and find that kill. Now, there were others elsewhere. Nature of border means we're not going to capture them all, but it's just little things like that where I don't mind the approach from the Knights. I think if you can isolate a player and get the advantage for the late round execute, that's awesome, especially on border. But just the execution of that, not quite there on the last round. Credit goes to Cairo, playing confidently on that power position, but the Knights, if they're going to take so much time, they need to ensure that if they are going to commit, they need to pull it off, or at least do a bit more damage than they are at the moment.
Yeah, and it looks like Stig's actually going to switch off of the Nook and grab the Nomad, which is maybe in relation to Cairo. I know Cairo is playing East Airs last round, but we saw back on the Armory Archive site, Cairo really sort of roaming around and looking to sort of just find those kills as well. So I do wonder if maybe sensing a bit of that aggression from WILDCARD could be a factor. Get at that flank watch. And it might also allow Knights to just push in, gain a little bit more territory, and have a bit of that defense behind them. And might give them that confidence to try and get a little bit more control above site, especially for Vents Workshop as well, pushing up to, say, Armory Archives and having the flank watch as well available. But a great start to this game. A good response from WILDCARD, all things considered. Lost the first round, had the tech issue, and they've responded like a team that is, of course, in the top 2 right now. Early days, but you win this, and suddenly that's 3 from 3, and everyone else is hunting you down.
They've been able to shake off any concerns that the momentum for them may have been disrupted, or even the mental game potentially early due to those issues. Don't mind OJ here in this round, electing to bring Pulse. Josh, meanwhile, elsewhere, cooks a grenade to break, but Milo has a rotation, looks to get aggressive, but it's Cairo who aggresses even more onto Josh, and it's plays like these that are allowing WILDCARD to get themselves into rounds. Quiz, though, responds onto Vincere, who's been playing well, and Cairo will fall. It's a 3-on-3, though, as Milo elsewhere is able to claim a pick.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny, because that's why I thought, you know, you go to the Nomad, you get those air jabs out to stop those players from Cairo. He's done it a couple of rounds now where he's pushed out to the balcony, he's looking to swing, find a couple of kills, and obviously in that instance, one was just not set up for that play. OJ finds the kill onto Stiggs, and now it's only Juicy and Sage left. And, well, fortunately, at the time of completing that sentence, finds the kill onto Cairo. It brings it back to 2 versus 3, and it's not impossible from here. Still time. They have drones, they can get some information, they can slow the round down a little bit, and a lot of utility has been expended by WILDCARD, but yeah, it's a long way back here for Juicy and Sage.
WILDCARD retreating back down towards the first floor, and the Knights just confirming top floor's clear with a drone. Decent utility still available here for Juicy. 2 Salmas, 2 Claymores. Sage as well has a grenade in the pocket, so you can't count them out from this position, but OJ is so key for WILDCARD. He's down below. He has perfect information. You can see on screen now. He knows exactly where these attackers are coming from. And this is a wild card round to lose.
That's the only tool they've got, though, is the cardiac sensor. They have no nades, they have no nitrocells, they have essentially nothing else. But playing off of that cardiac sensor, especially when you've got that numbers advantage and can find at least the info on one player, I mean, that alone is going to give you such a significant advantage for the remainder of the round. Plus time, too, is now a factor. Under 20 seconds remaining, forcing Sage over to the bottom of main stairs and just looking to push into sight. Now, hello, Juicy finds a kill onto Pat. That evens things up. But again, time is going to be a factor. It's Juicy that does have the diffuser in hand. The random shoulder swing from OJ, and he falls to Sage, and it gives Juicy time. Pat needs to try and deny, but he's too far away. If he does find the denial, he can win the round. He can't even take out Sage. Now he does, but Juicy got the plant down in time. Knights clutch out the round.
Pat just narrowly misses that shot, but the Knights able to get that kit on the ground and bring the round back, the 2 versus 3.
Oh, wow.
Disappointing there from Wildcard. They had the information on the pulse, they had the default camera, they had the BPC. They had all the tools in the world to know roughly at least where that push was coming from. OJ gave away his life, another pick elsewhere, and put Pat in that awkward position. He faltered a little bit under the pressure, but it was a 1 versus 2. So the Knights able to convert that position. And I know you joked before that maybe this could end up being a bit of a classic. At the moment, this is some really close siege. Both teams are playing scrappy. This is not really a very perfect border, although it is a very difficult map to see played cleanly. But mistakes being made by both sides, and it's going to be a battle of attrition as to who can lessen the impact of their mistakes and try and capitalize on their opponents.
Yeah, I mean, or just quite frankly, who can make the least mistakes, who can actually just play basic Siege as much as possible here on this map. Or maybe, you know, you look at a player like Cairo, who's obviously just trying to be that, you know, spanner in the works and trying to make those aggressive plays. And then right now, are we seeing that from Knights, even though they're on the attack? I'm not too sure. I think Knights actually are playing, you know, a little bit more to the methodical approach, and it's Wildcard on the defense who are living up to their name, especially, you know, living through Cairo, who is, you know, making those aggressive plays, who is just trying to rush balcony, who is going for these spawn peaks, doesn't quite catch that one. But again, that's the difference maker at the moment. From the first 4 rounds played, it's Cairo, it's Wildcard. They're trying to make things happen early on, and it's really, it feels like up to the Knights. If they can actually survive the first minute, 2 minutes, and sort of take Wildcard's best punch, most awkward punch, then they can actually respond in the late round, and their execution in the late round has been pretty good.
We head over to Armory for the 5th round. So only 2 defensive efforts remain for Wildcard. At the moment, difficult to split these 2 teams. The Knights, every round so far, have really taken their time in the first minute and a half to just get a read as to what the setup is, get a read as to where these defenders are playing, and then try to coordinate a couple of players to converge on a sole roamer or a sole player holding a power position. Now, Knights have identified someone down below in basement. I think they want control. Also looking to try and potentially clear a shield. I think there was in office, but tricky to see. Nonetheless, though, Josh takes a little bit of damage, and the pacing very similar to these other rounds. Here's that shield, the nade from Sage. Sounded like it probably landed. Oh, line of sight. Don't know if that was actually visible or not, but Sage with a good position down below to cut off these rotations.
And it's still 5 versus 5, and I actually think this probably favors Knights, just simply because Wildcard have really been trying to play into the aggressive nature early on. A lot of information there as well being provided by Josh, and on those cameras able to get a lot of information as to the whereabouts of these Wildcard players, and catches Milo trying to make his way up main stairs. First pick goes the way of the Knights, just under a minute left. Pick it straight back. It's Cairo, of course. Why not? On the roam. You never know where he's going to be. Those feet don't stay planted, but now they will permanently. Josh finds the kill. Now brings it to a 4 versus 1. Josh and Juicy just combined for 3 instantaneous kills. Knights with all of the advantages now in this 5th round to take the lead here on Border.
OJ, 30 seconds he needs to hold out for a last stand of sorts, and the Knights have him cut off. He cannot cross this position. Deep lines of sights, LMGs, And the Knights, Juicy, getting that plant down behind the chassis. OJ won't be able to find that line of sight. Now he's getting naded from behind, and he's just desperately scrambling to try and find something back in this round. But the damage already done by the Knights. They did such a good job in having a read, particularly on those players below. They had a strong advantage heading into that execute. Juicy, Josh, pat yourselves on the back. Really clean execute, and the Knights looking good.
Yeah, and Knights in general will just, sort of pat yourselves on the back right now because they've been playing this so well. And, you think back to some of the earlier borders and sometimes it's easy to be critical and say, what's going on here? But I think the best teams are able to sort of learn from those results and understand what they're trying to do internally. And it's pretty evident right now that the Knights have, really worked on their border, that they were always working on their border and that they're really bringing it out here. And especially in a match that has so much on the line, they need the points, they need to keep in touch with the top two. And in some ways, this is a bit of a 6-pointer, Guz, because if you can take points away from WILDCARD, who's in that top 2 position right now, and gain points yourself, it goes so far for the rest of this particular stage. Now, very quickly, since this is the 6th round, we always talk about, the halves and who's favored. I had a quick look back because this is obviously the first time we see border for stage 2. We only saw it played twice as well in stage 1. So a map that does not see a whole lot of play time, but only a 35% defensive win rate, right? So you're actually looking at the attackers finding success on border, but again, from an incredibly minuscule sample in APAC South, but I think it's kind of playing out that way right now. Knights have looked a little bit more in control. We'll see what happens in the second half, though.
Kara again looking for a spawn kill. Do that break door, but the timing doesn't quite land. Could have been a big opener for WILDCARD, but just not meant to be. And now he'll reposition over towards east stairs, which saw success for him previously. The Knights scrambled to try and clear that position, but it didn't quite work out. And I'm assuming once more he'll want to try and hold that. Pretty important part of the map, especially if the Knights want control above the objective itself, want control of mezzanine, looking down into the objective as well. So Kyra's certainly holding that with purpose. Sage with a swift entry though. Uncontested into armory, shield.
He's going to find a kill. Did he not see the leg? Ah, okay. Well, that goes down anyway. Oh, Milo with a big Nitrocell the other way. Just when it felt like Sage was going to get a lot of damage done from that position. Like you said, pushed in early, got a lot of intel as well as positioning. Milo shuts that down. 2 early deaths. Sage goes down, but so does Pat. Minute 50 still left in the final round of this first half. OJ over towards officers. And I gotta say, the mind games here from Knights have been incredible. You see those little pushes in from Sage. At other times, they're slow. They're keeping their distance. Just never know really what you're going to get from them. But on the flip side, you're seeing that from Cairo as well defensively. He's anywhere and everywhere in this game so far.
The mind games generally have been pretty strong from WILDCARD, but we have seen examples, and I think the last round highlighted that if the Knights get a read on it, they are very switched on, and they're not going to be all too deceived if they back themselves in to have a read, and normally they're on point. They're going to commit to that play. The information inside of Workshop generally has been so strong from the Knights. Josh wants to capitalize. WILDCARD struggling to clear drones from this position. Moloska able to get away with his life though.
Adrenal Surge is available. Josh will use the first of 3. Each Gemma taken out by Juicy, and we are getting down to the final 50 seconds though, but I don't think that's going to be effective for the Knights. I don't think they'll be too worried about that. Especially 4 versus 4. Stig's just watching and seeing if I can find maybe a crossfire here. It's OJ though with the Nitrocell. Nate goes out, Stiggs goes in and just gets positioned straight into bathroom now. And this is what feels like the big turning point in the round. If Stiggs can find a couple of kills, that could be the round. But if he goes down here and no trade happens, surely WILDCARD can close out. 25 seconds left.
Moloska and Cairo doubling up upstairs. OJ left alone in the objective. Hears them through the drone hole, but Josh cuts down Moloska again, was flanking. The diffuser now planted in the 3-on-3, and Stiggs with this cross so powerful.
So powerful, the timing. I thought for a second as he activated the cloak, maybe Vincier could have had a chance, but he didn't. Coming through that hole, he was just fodder to the flames of the Knights, who claim success in the opening half. 4-2 here on border. An incredible start for them as we switch sides going into the second half.
A good start for the Knights. Again, the graphic up top, 7th versus 1st. Quite deceiving. Historically, though, the Knights have struggled a little bit here on border. And had a close loss against WILDCARD in the OCS. So this game far from over. But I think it's probably fair to say we've seen an improvement. That can all change, though, as the sides shift and the Knights will head us down to Workshop.
Yeah, I mean, a massive step up from the Knights, but I'm not too surprised necessarily. It's more so just the map itself, right? When we saw them play against the Elevate last week on Theme Park, there was so much that we liked about what we saw from the Knights. Did that scoreline, I think, was that scoreline relevant? Probably not. I felt like it was closer, actually, to like a 7-4, 7-5 than it was a 7-3. They took down IG in Playday 1, so, yeah, admittedly, coming into this game, if it weren't for the fact that we were on border, I think Knights would have actually been favoured on other maps, for example, and I think they would have been considered a team very likely to be able to take down WILDCARD. But on this particular map, I think you have to go and look at WILDCARD as the favourites. And yeah, first half gone. We'll see what happens now. Knights will go on the defense, and WILDCARD to show us the attacking prowess that they've had so far to start this stage of APAC South, a team that has not gone to overtime, Gus. 7-5 over Fury, 7-5 over Direwolves. But they may be pushed to the limit here for Playday 3.
Double Secretary hard breach on detention wall there. From Pat, lines of sight now in towards Customs, applying some pressure onto Josh, who's just mindful that no one enters this position. Maybe suggesting WILDCARD will go for more of a horizontal take, potentially through Towers and then in across towards Workshop, as opposed to going top down. But the current meta on border, you basically need to try and enter everywhere and take as much control anywhere you can as possible. So we'll hold that thought for now, as there's still 2 minutes remaining in this round. And maybe this is the play for WILDCARD. No real suggestion that upstairs is going to be a top priority, at least initially, but players now repelling up above. And we think back to the first half, the timeline of the attacks for the Knights. Relatively similar pacing. In about 20 seconds or so, that's when we really saw the Knights try and maybe find one pick or find one opening or start to get boots on the ground on towards the map. So not meant to be too, no, it shouldn't be too concerning at the moment here for WILDCARD. A quick trade though. Pyro, Sage, finding a pick each.
Do lose the Zofia though, which is probably not ideal for WILDCARD. 90 seconds left in the round. At least they got the trade, and Adrenal Surge was used as well by Cairo early on here. When we usually see the Pat, well, that was risky from Josh, but he just felt like he could crouch and find the kill. He gets the second as well onto Cairo, who went looking for a trade and in the end found a bullet to the head. Josh, 9-3. And we've said it so many times in the past for the Knights, when Josh is on, the Knights are on. And they're looking hard to stop right now. The attack of WILDCARD shambles in disarray. And now a 1v4 for OJ. He's not getting past Josh. Inside of the beeper, he is the machine right now.
A solid start for the Knights, and they want to continue to roll this on through the rounds. That's round 7 ticked off, and a good start to their defensive efforts. And now they're a single round away from match point, putting them in a very powerful spot. And WILDCARD left to try and recover. They entered this second half at the deficit. They haven't helped themselves any further. And maybe WILDCARD's spot in first place of APAC South is under very serious threat right now. We'll need to see them respond swiftly.
Down 5-2, and this is turning into a beating from a historical classic to a one-sided affair pretty quickly. 4 round wins in a row for the Knights, and really sticking it to everyone who maybe doubted them, especially us on the talent desk. All what is it, 5, 6 of us? However many are on the predictions. I've lost count, but still, everyone guys went WILDCARD. Incredible start to the stage, but the Knights, it maybe went under the radar, but this felt like a must-win game. They had to get a result from this match, and so far, they are 1 point or 1 round away from that 1 point at minimum. And honestly, I think they will not settle for 1. They're not going to settle for 2. They want all 3 points. And if they can find it, they'll go to 5 points, and they will only be 1 point behind WILDCARD in first place. That's how much this match matters to the Knights.
Stiggs over towards security, having another solid game. It's been a good stage for him so far. And today's performance, probably not a huge standout, but it's been good. 5-3, having an impact. Can't be dismissed. It's really been Josh laying down the law as Cairo gets lit up on the finger. He'll be able to boost himself back up. Stiggs narrowly survives, but it looks like he wants to play for his life, waste as much time in security as possible. And if he can maybe get a pick, that would be a big bonus.
Yeah, and another early use of that Adrenal Surge as well for Cairo. The stark difference that we're seeing, you know, for Knights, they were able to keep all 3 of those surges when they were playing Finger towards the end of those rounds.
Oh
the
my.
one-tap headshot, Milo, that's what you get for peeking. Another one for Stiggs, no! Turnaround 180 for Cairo. Stiggs was low on health. I think Stiggs was sitting back thinking he should have got that kill. He should have punished Cairo for not watching the run out. Brings it to 4 versus 4. Still time. But a big round here for Wildcard. They need to bring back the round. And that's all of the Adrenal Surges now used up by Cairo. And it doesn't do much anyway. OJ falls to the headshot of Quiz. No trade again. Knights just keep getting away with it.
4 versus 3. The Knights cheeky in this round, making it work. And Wildcard really struggling to sort of tame this aggression and keep the Knights in a cage. It's tough going, and Sage looking for more blood over towards Armory. May elect to try and dash across here and flank Wildcard from behind, who have a minute to try and formulate an attack. And you can see the positions from the Knights still so powerful, and there's such a big time waste between them and the objective as well. So Wildcard truly have their backs against the wall.
Cairo finds a big kill, and so far he's been the clear standout for this particular Wildcard team tonight. Vincia, the star of the season for Wildcard, has not been the star of the show tonight. Now with only 35 seconds remaining, Pat falls down. It's all onto the shoulders of Cairo, and he falls to the Don in Juicy. And it's now match point for the Knights, and they've got multiple of them, guys. This is turning into an absolute slaughter on border.
What a shot from Stiggs, absolutely destroying Milo, and then the aggression from Quiz as well. The flank from Sage is just relentless at the moment from the Knights, not allowing Wildcard to breathe, which is a fantastic mantra to have on border. And the Knights, as you can see, ultra focused at the moment. They're not going to get too far ahead of themselves. They recognize the importance of getting all 3 points in this match. And on the flip side, Wildcard need to try and keep fighting. If they can salvage an overtime from here, that's big for them as well. Losing 3 points relegates them down into that top 4 fight, which will go down to the final Playday. So a big round, or couple of rounds coming up here for both teams.
Just to confirm as well, tactical timeout taken by Wildcard, but I feel like it's maybe too little too late. The damage has well and truly been done. 5 round wins in a row to the Knights, and they've been rather clean. They've been rather seamless as well, guys. We're not looking at 5 round wins where it's gone down to the, you know, the final second, and it's been, you know, biting your nails kind of close. It's just been all one-sided after what was a pretty close first, I'll say 3-4 rounds back and forth, bit of an arm wrestle. Since then, the Knights have just run away with this game, and I think Wildcard will be a little bit disappointed in their performance tonight, because in some ways they got over that hurdle of winning a big game last week when they took down Direwolves. Have they been able to back it up? The answer is no.
Defenders, protect your bombs from being defused by attackers.
Which again just raises questions as to how can you be consistent in this league. It is so incredibly challenging. You can have a couple of good games here or there, but if you can't maintain that for 7 play days in a row, if you can't finish in the top 2, well, essentially it was for nothing. So all these teams are in a very tricky position, but for the Knights, they're feeling themselves at the moment.
And the other thing this does do is, as well, is it creates a lot of happy players within this league, because if Wildcard had have won this particular game, right, they go to 9 points from 3 games, and they probably set the tone that they're going to clean sweep the stage. Not necessarily go undefeated, but they're going to take one of those top 2 spots. With their assumed loss, at this point down 6-2, it really does open things up once again. They'll be on 6 points in the #1 position. It means the likes of either Elevate, Gaming Gladiators can take top spot. It means through 7 play days, the #1 team can only have now 7 points. And so it really, you know, if you're the Chiefs, for example, and they're playing after this game, right? Suddenly, if the Chiefs win that game against Direwolves, they're only 3 points away from top spot. So suddenly your season has hope, it has life back in it. If WILDCARD had have won, that's one of the two spots that is looking very incredibly unlikely to catch. So it does a lot for this particular stage. It does so much for the Knights as well. Now, only 1 point. They go to second, guys. They're in second last. They win this, they go to second. Temporarily.
Again, we mentioned it earlier. 7th for the Knights, incredibly deceiving. And the prediction graphic, of course, deceiving as well. I don't think anyone truly counted out the Knights, especially before the veto. Post-veto, perhaps some eyebrows were raised, but clearly proving the doubt is wrong at the minute. It's up to WILDCARD now. 4 rounds. That's their target in a row. No room for any more mistakes, and there's been a lot of them on these attacks, and the Knights forcing these errors. Here's the clear over towards East Stairs, but it's unsuccessful for WILDCARD, just like it was for the Knights. Milo, though, cleanly finds a trade. Doesn't get the second, though. Josh swings outside of office to render his assistance, and WILDCARD losing out on that trade at the halfway point. I mean, this match point round.
You don't hate that in some ways because it's a WILDCARD trying to do something. Was it clean? Hell no. I mean, that was a little bit all over the shop in the end, and Knights will be, you know, the benefactors of that, up 4 versus 3 in the round. And you know, this is going to be quite a dismal loss if they lose this 7-2. Remembering Knights 0-3 on border coming into this game. So history suggesting it hasn't been a kind map for them. But I think when you throw history out the window, the best teams, they learn, they'll take lessons from those losses. And the Knights are one of the best teams in this particular competition. And they've clearly learned a lot and know a lot. And they're just showing it now. No more messing around. 4 versus 3, and time now a factor as well for WILDCARD. You don't have Cairo, you've lost Moloska, so you've lost the Finka Lion combo as well. Any chance of a quick rush on site, pretty much gone. Now you lose Pat. It's just further bad news for WILDCARD. Vincere, who's had a tough night, all things considered, still 4-6, and gives them maybe one last second of hope.
Nade cooked over towards Archives. This is the objective, but it's going to be boxed out. That said, elsewhere, OJ finds Sage. Maybe WILDCARD can still win out this round and keep themselves alive.
Misreading, thinking maybe someone's going to push up bot stairs. At least has top main stairs control, but both on site for the Knights on the defense. Time a factor. Red time. OJ has the diffuser in hand. Pings go out. Sticks just holds his position into Archives. The swing from OJ, successful. Got to get the plant down and does so with very little time. Vincere has to watch and hit the shot, and he can't. Juicy, can he deny it? Yes, he will. The Don is good. The Knights are great.
What a clutch from Juicy. Reminiscent perhaps of the one they lost earlier on that same objective. But overall, the Knights, a big improvement on border. And that's a big result for their stage.
It's massive. From second last to just straight out second for the Knights. They're back in all their glorious fashion. Beard and all for the Don and Juicy with a big clutch to close out.